Welcome back to the channel. I have on my left a 2024 Ford F250 with the 6.8 liter, and this is going to be a 2024 Chevy Silverado 3500 with the 6.6 liter gas V8. I borrowed these trucks from Jerry Seiner Chevrolet here in Salt Lake City, and also Larry H. Miller Super Ford here in Salt Lake City. Be sure to check out the inventory. Both of these trucks are available for sale. Let's go ahead and drive the Ford first, and then we'll drive the 6.6 gas from Chevy. One thing I noticed today, it's about 50 degrees, which makes it a little bit easier for these trucks to warm up. This Ford takes a lot longer to heat up compared to the Chevy. I actually drove it over here, which is not far from the Ford dealer, and I kind of drove around the lot a little bit. I looked down, it's still not fully warmed up, so hopefully when we get to the spot to do the 0 to 60, it'll be nice and warm, but it does take a little bit more time compared to Chevy. So the Chevy, it was on the side of the lot here. I did drive it back over to the Ford store and back to kind of get it up to operating temp, and it's pretty much warmed up now, so it didn't take much time at all compared to this one. So it's something to consider. Not a big deal, but just something that you can keep in the back of your mind if you live in a really cold climate. But let's go ahead and talk about this powertrain. It was new for 2023. Let's see what kind of power it has, and then we'll do the 0 to 60 run. So here it is. This is the 6.8 liter gas V8, which is new from 2023. Now, this engine has 405 horsepower, 445 pound-feet of torque. It is mated to a 10-speed transmission. Let's see how this one sprints to 60 miles an hour. Here we go. That was pretty good. 8.5 seconds to 60. Very, very good performance there, guys. And what else? 0 to 30 was 3.58 seconds, so we'll have to see how the Chevy does. Now, the quarter mile was 16.33 seconds. I can't see the miles per hour on my app here, but I will show you guys all the numbers in a spreadsheet against the Chevy with the MPG. So I'm actually really happy with the way this engine performs. I did another test with it just separately. Actually, I did it against the 7.3 liter. I just showed you guys the stats that I got, and the 10-speed transmission behind the 6.8 is really good. Like, I hate to say this, but I was kind of expecting this transmission to perform worse than the 10R 140, but it doesn't do that. It is actually a really good trans. So let's go ahead and check out the RPMs here. I'm going about 75 miles an hour. I have the truck in normal mode, but I'm going to put it in eco mode because it's only fair because it's available. So we're doing about 70 miles an hour now. Let's go ahead and get up to 75 again. So at 70, yeah, we're like at 1800 RPMs. That's so nice. Just under 2000. So this has the 373 rear, right? And you can get a 430. Now, I said this in the last video, if you're looking to buy this 6.8 liter, I would probably say 10,000 pound trailer would be perfect, 100% to stick with the 373. But if you want to tow more than that, or you want to try to tow close to max, then I probably would reach over to get that 430, just being honest. So you get the extra RPM, it kind of keeps you in the broadband with the 10 speed. But these gears and these transmissions are pretty deep, so you don't really need to get a lower gearing out back on these trucks. As far as the numbers on the door go for the Ford, you guys can see the axles. Just be sure to pause. I'm not going to go through every single thing here, but here's the payload at 3,776 pounds, and that is with a 10.5 GVWR. We just got off the interstate, and I'm going to show you guys pretty much where we are. Now, really quickly, I know people were saying that they don't like the way I do my MPG runs. They're too short. I do the 0 to 60 with the miles here, so it does hurt the fuel economy. When you think about the averaging of MPG, if you're like doing city driving, stop and go, idling, That 0 to 60 run, or really 0 to 80 run, kind of averages this out for my testing. That's why I do it that way. It's a short test, which means I'm doing mostly highway driving this way. Oh, I'm sorry, by the way, here you go. So I'm at 14.5. That's really good. So 51 degrees outside. So that's why I do my testing the way I do. Now, for all the guys who are complaining, by the way, you don't even subscribe to my channel, but you're complaining. Just want to make that note really quickly. I'm gonna do a membership on my channel. Let's see if these guys who are complaining will contribute to the channel so I can start doing my testing the way they want me to, all right? So I will start doing that really soon. So thank you for the tip. So I'm going 70 miles an hour. So 64, 65. 68 on the window. 62 to 64, but I'm hitting some bumps, so I would say 62 because I was about sitting there for a little bit. So yeah, this truck is definitely a lot better handling than the off-road package XL that I tested. I didn't like the way that truck handled at all. This truck, so nice. Definitely low road noise compared to the Goodyear Wrangler dirt tracks on the off-road XL pickup, and there's not a lot of body roll. This truck is just definitely tuned better compared to that one, so just keep that in mind if you are looking between getting this STX package or that off-road XL package. Here's one thing that Ford does that GM does not. Love the fact that you have the engine coolant temperature, transmission temperature, and engine oil temperature all in the same spot. That is one of the coolest things about the newer Ford Super Duties. And it does show you the battery voltage too. And when you get a diesel, it gets even better too. So they show you all the like turbo boost, everything, DPF, which is for the emissions. But we should be back soon, and we're gonna jump in that Chevy and we're gonna see how it performs against this Ford Super Duty. We just pulled back into the dealer, and I'm gonna show you guys where we end off at. This truck did really good, guys. Like, this is the perfect setup, I think, for a gas engine with the tires, wheels, all that good stuff. Like, so we'll stop. Hopefully this box truck doesn't move. But yeah, we'll stop right here. And there you go. 15.6 MPG, and then we drove 15.2 miles. So I had to take a quick break. I just saw a AT4X with a light bar on the front, and he actually added the light pods in the rear bumper because it's an AEV edition, and yeah, it looks so good. I might do a short video on it. I don't have much footage of it. I just met the guy, his name is Rob, has an amazing truck. But yeah, let's go ahead and discuss this 6.6 liter. This is the L8T. Let's talk about the performance, and then we'll do the 0 to 60 run. The 6.6 liter puts out 401 horsepower, which is less than the 6.8 from Ford. However, it has 464 foot-pound of torque. This year, they did add the 10-speed transmission. Let's see how it runs to 60 miles an hour. All right, here we go. Dropped my phone. But that was the best 0 to 60 I've seen out of this truck ever. I've driven probably 4 or 5 of these, some of them off camera. I did an AT4, which did terrible. My truck that I own, which was a 6.6 L8T gas, terrible. And this is not a low trim level truck. This truck is LT, has 18s, but yeah, it was 9.59 seconds. It was not far behind the 6.8 liter. Now, granted, the horsepower is more or less the same, 405 versus 401, but the torque is where this truck runs at. But They both have the same rear axle. It's just, yeah, that was pretty good. I'm really impressed. I think that if my truck performed as good as this one did just now, I think I would have wanted to keep it a little bit more so. But yeah, this performed really well. Still got beat by the Ford, but it performed really well. But here are the RPMs. I mean, both trucks have 373s, right? And they both look to be pretty much 1800 RPMs. Not bad. Now this truck does have the Michelin tires, by the way, and with Chevy having the independent front suspension, this truck does handle better. Driving this back to back with that Ford, I can clearly tell this truck has tighter steering feel compared to the Ford, and it just feels, well, you know what, this is a 1-ton, that's why. Maybe that's why this truck feels a little bit more stable. Like, I like this feel a lot better. I wish they were both either 3/4 tons or 1-tons, but sometimes the stars don't align and I gotta do what I gotta do. But yeah, this truck definitely has the feel I like compared to that F250. And people either love the independent front suspension, but a lot of people hate it because they probably own Fords or Rams, so that's why they like the solid front axles. But this truck, it handles pretty good. Here are the numbers on the door for the Chevy. Be sure to pause it down below here. Because this is a 1-ton, you're going to have a little bit more payload capacity. So 4,118 pounds is the payload there. So here is the midpoint. We're still pretty much coasting down here. We were like at 14 something with the Ford. And I'm actually surprised. I thought this would be doing a little bit better. But for the most part, this truck was a little bit slower, and I was trying to get up to the 1/4 mile point, so that might be why it's a little bit lower down too. But 13.1 MPG at the midpoint. Let's see how loud this truck is inside the interior. So 65, 67 on the window. 62 out back, so about the same in the rear for both trucks. That bike is still kind of close by too. I mean, this truck is quiet. The Michelin tires, they're fantastic. I don't think I've ever driven inside any truck, car, SUV that had Michelins. Like, oh, these tires are terrible. These tires are perfect on this truck. 18-inch wheels, so you get a little bit more sidewall. It does feel like a little bumpy, but that's what to be expected when you're looking at 1-ton pickups. I mean, you're going to have a little bit stiffer suspension, but this is what I like. I like the perfect balance that Chevy has, and you get that with the independent front suspension. I'm just being honest here. It's not my favorite either, but it definitely does get the job done. In some cases, these trucks have better gross axle weight ratings than Ford and Ram. I added the transmission temperature to the speedometer there. You guys can see it's at 136 degrees. The 10-speed Allison does run about 147 degrees, pretty average from what I've seen. Sometimes it can get a little bit warmer than that. Now, if you're towing, it can get up to 175 to 190, and I was towing about 13,000 pounds at the time. I towed my black trailer about 10,000 pounds, about the same. Not sure what would happen if you towed at max with the gas engine, but yeah, I wish they would give you like the coolant temperature. Like, I know they have gauges that you can add below, but I like to see a number. They should just add a number down below, and then I'd be happy and I'd stop talking about it. But we should be back in a second, and I'll show you guys pretty much where we end off at. Just pull back into the dealer, and right here. So here's where we finished at. 14.3 MPG, 15.3 miles driven. It did not beat the Ford. So I've always been told that direct injection performs better than port fuel injection. Now, this is multi-port injection on the Ford 6.8 liter, and this is direct injection on the Chevy. But having about the same horsepower, but the Chevy having more torque, the Ford still outperformed it. Now, obviously, if you look at the weights of these trucks, that is a factor too, but it's not that much difference for us to really talk about it. So I don't know. I would say that the Chevy L8T is a more reliable engine. Like, if I was putting my money on something for long-term use and high miles, I would probably pick the Chevy for sure. but it doesn't change the fact that this 6.8 liter did perform well in this test, and it gets better fuel economy, so it does save you at the pump. But I hope you guys liked the video. If you haven't checked out the first one I did, I actually compared both of these trucks, just kind of going over the differences. I will put that video at the end of this one, so be sure to check it out. See you guys soon.